What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. In this video, I'm going to take you guys through my team selection for the upcoming Game Week 2. It's a little bit of a change up from the Friday night deadline in Game Week 1, so the Saturday midday, afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you guys are around the world deadline is a nice return to the old times. So please remember that we'll still be doing a deadline stream 1 hour before the deadline. But in this video, I'll be taking you guys through a little bit of a review of Game Week 1, seeing how my own team got on. We're then going to move on to my transfer plan, which this week is pretty boring because I've actually already made a transfer, if you guys don't know already. And then I'm going to show you how my team is setting up for Game Week 2 with that transfer already made. Now, Game Week 2 is a little bit of a kind of basic game week in my opinion. A lot of home fixtures for our team, should be quite a high scoring one, and most of the decisions have already been made. But if you guys have any questions about your own team, what transfers to make, who to captain, drop it in the comments down below, or just go watch my previous videos as I've gone quite in depth into a lot of the transfer plans and the captaincy in my ultimate guide yesterday. While you're in the comments down below, also let me know how your Game Week 1 went. Was it a great score? Was it a bad one? I think most people generally were quite average or good, but there might be one or two of you that had a pretty bad start if you went, for example, with no Salah. So let me know how it went in the comments down below, but with that being said, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So as I mentioned in the introduction, I'm going to go over a quick review of Game Week 1. However, if you guys did watch my transfer plan, I went into quite a lot of depth into kind of what happened in Game Week 1, which players got this point, which players got no points. So I'll be doing a quicker review than usual, just because I want to repeat content. But what I will say is I'm going to touch a little bit onto the Game Week rank of Game Week 1, because I've seen a couple of comments in my Twitter DMs and on Discord about people having a bad start. So if you guys look at the bottom right there, I scored 62 points in Game Week 1, which results in a game week and an overall rank of just under 3 million. Now, taking the total players into account of about 8 million, that's going to be better than average, but what I will say is that Game Week 1's rank does not matter at all. I'll tell you guys a little bit of a story about my first season in FPL. I started around Game Week 9, Game Week 10, I can't exactly remember, but I started quite a way into the season, and I still managed to win my friend's mini league at the end of the day. So that's not kind of a humble brag there, I promise. I'm just kind of giving you guys a visualization that if you are generally focused on mini leagues, you can still win it because you've bought a ticket to the raffle, you signed up a Game Week 1 team. If it got 10 points, if it got 70, you're still in the race because there's 37 game weeks to go. Just use me for example, last season got off to a really good start. Come Game Week 9, I captained Havertz over Salah. Everyone went for Salah. I was then 21 points behind. You guys have so much time to make up decisions and make up rank grounding overall. This season especially is going to be quite an interesting one. 3 wildcards, that's going to be 3 big decisions to make. So the chances of you making up your mini leagues and your overall rankings are pretty increased. Saying that though, if you guys are already leading, got off to a good start, the exact same can happen to you. You could get off to a good start and then hit a bad start. So just as long as you're kind of going with your gut, making good FPL decisions, you should be good at the end of the day. But I just want to kind of give you guys some motivation here. If you had a bad start to the season, please don't kind of delete your teams. It's only 1 game week in. We've got a long season ahead. And I promise you at the end of the season, you're going to look back at your rank and be pretty happy. But enough about the motivation. Hopefully it helped you guys out. Comment down below if you have any concerns and I'll give you some more quotes and motivation in the replies. Just wrapping up my team, first of all, on the bench, we had Walker on 6 points. A little bit disappointing there. I kind of overestimated West Ham quite a bit. You guys will see that in my starting 11 especially. But I just generally thought that West Ham would score in this one, and that's why I put Kyle Walker on the bench. However, I do hope in the upcoming game weeks that he's going to start for Man City. Pep Guardiola was quite complimentary to him after the fixture. However, I do see that Man City are trying to sign a replacement left back since Zinchenko's left the club. But Walker was going to kind of be a short-term punt, so let's just hope that he starts in the next game week. Moving on to the starting 11, the goalkeeper department was Ramsdale, went for the more premium goalkeeper than someone like a Danny Ward from Leicester. That was repaid. We got 6 points instead of 1 on the bench, as you guys can see. And overall, Arsenal looked pretty good defensively. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for Liverpool with Andy Robertson and Trent in my team finishing on 2 points combined. Pretty disappointed with those returns against a newly promoted side, but it is Game Week 1. Those promoted sides are going to start off the season quite hot usually. I just hope that they can rebound defensively. Going forward, Trent and Robert were still getting miles forward. There were some situations that Robertson was even more forward than Luis Diaz, so I'm still going to stick with my guns with this Liverpool double up. We then move on to Cancelo and Reece James, who both picked up a yellow card in that fixture, but also picked up 2 bonus points, which kind of netted to 7 points overall. Both these two sides look better defensively than Liverpool. Man City, especially West Ham, weren't given an inch in that fixture, and Cancelo, as you guys know, gets miles forward. With Reece James, going to be quite interesting to see what happens with the upcoming game weeks. There has been talks about him potentially returning to that right centre-back slot after Tuchel came out and said that he wasn't actually fully fit. But I still think that James will be a great FPL asset. Nice fixtures coming up after the Spurs won this game week, so hopefully we can reap the rewards of those nice fixtures. Moving on to midfield department, our captain Mo Salah returned 24 points, a goal and an assist pretty quickly after Darwin came off the bench. So I was super happy with that return, however he wasn't the highest scorer in FPL for Game Week 1. Pedro Neto and Leon Bailey were definitely not the top scorers, 2 points combined to 4, pretty lackluster performances from these two. I know that Neto looked quite promising, Bailey had signs in that Villa attack, but overall both their two teams lost, and unfortunately they also blanked in FPL. Luckily though, Martinelli did not make it, kind of 3 blanks in our midfield. He scored a nice goal for Arsenal, and at his price point, a goal, any kind of attacking return, I'm going to take at the end of the day. Going into our forward line, more disappointment came. We got a double of 2s. We've got Gabriel Jesus with a 2-pointer and also Harry Kane. Now, Gabriel Jesus, I can kind of forgive. He's owned by basically every single player in the game. But Harry Kane, you guys know how salty I've been this week for going Kane over Haaland. But the fact of the matter is, Spurs scored 4 goals, Man City scored 2, Haaland gets 2 goals, and Harry Kane gets none. Now, I know what you're saying, this is FPL at the end of the day, 100% agree with you. You're talking to a man that captained Kai Havertz, and Chelsea ended up winning, I think it was 5-0 or 7-0, and Kai Havertz actually blanked in that fixture. So I'm used to the disappointment, but this week, because Haaland absolutely banged and Kane blanked, I have to take this one on the chin, and hopefully in the upcoming game weeks, we can rebound. So overall, as I mentioned, 62 points, just below that 3 million overall rank, and we have 0.5 in the bank and 1 free transfer. Let me know how you guys got on. If you went for Haaland, probably above me in the rankings, so you guys can tune me if you want. So now moving on to the transfer plan, and as I mentioned in the introduction, I actually have done this move already. I made it on Sunday night before the price rises, and Harry Kane dropped and Haaland rose in price. So 0.2 million was actually saved making that transfer on Sunday. And what's nice is in the team selection, we now have a confirmed transfer, so I can actually show you the confirmed team selection. I can't really promise this every single game week. We might make moves after the team selection, that sort of thing. But just make sure that you guys are always in the deadline stream to get the most up-to-date team as possible. Now, should you guys actually make this move, I think even though we have had the price rises and the drops, I would still make it. That's how we did have that 0.5 in the bank. And if you guys want to captain Haaland, I would 100% do the transfer. But if you already have Haaland, I would simply just kind of bank the transfer unless there's major fires to put out. We spoke about Mason Mount yesterday. I would probably just keep him and see what happens. But you guys also go Maverick and go for someone like a Mahrez or a Foden. But if you guys have any transfers that you want to run by me, drop them in the comments down below or just ask me on my Discord server. So I know that the previous talking points we've wrapped through quite quickly, so I'm going to slow it down for the team selection because now this is going to be new information. It's a new game week. Let's see what we can make happen. Now in terms of our value in the bank, we've stuck with 0.5. However, we have used our 1 free transfer. That's going to turn to 0 free transfers. But at least we still have that 0.5 to play with if we want to make a transfer next game week. Right off the bat, in terms of the transfers that I'm currently looking at, you guys know my watch list. It's going to be those Spurs wingbacks. However, which one's actually going to play every single minute? Chances are probably none of them, so we'll see what we use that 0.5 for. We might actually upgrade Leon Bailey with it. Talking about Leon Bailey, let's go to our bench department. Starting off with Danny Ward against Arsenal away. 100% I'm going to be benching in this game week. I have no confidence in that Leicester defense. And if you guys have to play him, I'd hope for some save points because Arsenal are looking quite hot. And Leicester, unfortunately, their defense isn't. But the biggest talking point, and a lot of questions have been asked on my Discord channel and on Twitter, is who to bench out of Pedro Neto or Leon Bailey. So currently I'm benching Leon Bailey. There was a predicted team that went around on Twitter from a newspaper that said they expect Leon Bailey to be benched. Ollie Watkins will return to that front two of Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins. And overall, Everton with that back five actually looked pretty good defensively. So currently I am benching Leon Bailey, but just remember that Aston Villa vs Everton is the first game of Game Week 2, and therefore we might actually get some early team news. Now the next two options, I've seen actually a couple of people starting Andreas Pereira. They say that Wolves away game is a pretty strong one. I would actually agree. Wolves defense hasn't looked that sure, and Connor Cody is just left to Everton. But in terms of my own team, I can't really see me benching any of the starting 11, so Andreas Pereira will be on my bench, and to be honest, I probably would start Leon Bailey over him. But obviously for your team it might be completely different. You might have bad fixtures on your starting 11, then I might go for him, but currently he's going to be second on my bench. And then finally, Archer will be third place most of the game weeks, but what I will add to you guys is that there was a newspaper report. Listen, this might be complete rumor, it might be completely untrue, but apparently Aston Villa are looking to sell Ollie Watkins, and that'll make Leon Bailey and Archer even better because they might actually get more minutes. So I'm just going to put that out there, but as I said, it's a complete rumor. Don't hold me accountable for that one, but I just wanted to tell you guys about it. But now going on to our starting 11 and our goalkeeper, where the magic will hopefully start from. And what I will say is this kind of team is called the home run because my entire starting 11 has home fixtures. Do you guys have the exact same? This might be a massive game week for us. Home fixtures are generally favored to away games. So let's hope that that's actually true. So Arsenal host Leicester at home, and that's why Ramsdale's fixture, in my opinion, might be quite good. However, I do actually think that Leicester will score in this one, so I'm hoping for some save points from Ramsdale. I just think Leicester can't defend, so they have to attack, and with Jamie Vardy, he always loves playing against the traditional top 6, and therefore I'm worried about the points from Ramsdale. But also the defenses look pretty strong in preseason and in game week 1, so let's just hope for the best, and maybe Ramsdale can surprise us with a clean sheet. Moving on to our defensive department, and I'm going to talk about the double ups together because why would I talk about them separately? Both of these two options have the same fixture and hopefully the same attacking output. The first combination is going to be Trent and Robertson. You guys know that I've doubled up on that Liverpool defense, and hopefully against Crystal Palace at home on Monday, they can actually return with some defensive and some attacking returns. So Crystal Palace actually had a pretty bad game against Arsenal, didn't have the highest XG, and I hope that continues at Anfield on Monday. Now Trent and Robert, as I mentioned in the game week review of game week 1, they were getting quite forward in that Fulham game, and Liverpool are always reliant on these two to provide. Now the one thing about Liverpool, and I'll add this with Mo Salah when we talk about him later on, is I just want to see how they set up with Darwin, because that's kind of a target man up front. Will that make Trent and Robert a better asset? Will it squeeze them more out wide? Who kind of knows? So this game's going to be interesting for more than one reason. But hopefully at the end of the day, at the end of game week 2, the interesting thing is that we've got a bunch of points from these Liverpool assets. Moving on to the next double up, it's going to be Cancelo and Kyle Walker. Man City host a Bournemouth at the Etihad, the first home game of the season for them. And I just think this game is going to be quite a high scoring one. Now what I will say is that I hope Cancelo and Walker both start, but I'm pretty confident after the kind words for Kyle Walker from Pep after their fixture against West Ham. Now the clean sheet should be locked in here, touch wood that it is, but these two offer some attacking threat. However, in this new kind of inverted fullback formation, I don't exactly know. But I'm holding thumbs for some big scores because this is definitely a game that I would target, and as I mentioned, I'm expecting Man City to win by quite a few and hopefully also keep a clean sheet. Now the last option might be slightly controversial, but I will be starting Reece James against Spurs. This is a home game, it will be at Stamford Bridge. I think that Chelsea's defense looks pretty solid, and it will be actually interesting to see what Tuchel goes for in that back five. A lot of new signings such as a Cucurella, apparently they're trying to get Fofana in the door before this fixture, so that defensive unit might look absolutely stacked. But who kind of knows with this fixture? I can see a high scoring one, I can see a super low scoring one, but historically Chelsea have always done well against Spurs at home. Now this might be a big debate to go for. Would you start Reece James or Leon Bailey or even Andreas Pereira over him? I think currently James just edges it because of that kind of haul threat. Defensive and attacking returns are on the cards, whereas the other two don't really fill me with hope. But now moving on to midfield department, because the defense looks pretty strong. The midfield department looks slightly worse, but still some great assets here. The first one's going to be Mo Salah against Crystal Palace. Now Mo Salah's history against Crystal Palace is super strong. He's got a lot of goals, a lot of assists, just in general, so many attacking returns against them. And that's why he's up there with the captaincy options for this week. But speaking about Darwin, we've mentioned him with the defenders. It's going to be quite interesting to see what kind of role Mo Salah sets up with. He was actually quite central in that Fulham game when Darwin came off the bench. Will that continue? Who kind of knows? Will he kind of go more out wide? Who kind of knows? And that's for me one of those other interesting talking points about this matchup. But Mo Salah always returns with the most consistent options and essential options in the game, and you guys saw that in game week 1. We didn't see the same attacking threat from Pedro Neto, but I think neither did Wolves. And that's what this Fulham at home game is. One of the contentious point of views, whether to start Bailey against Everton or Pedro Neto against Fulham. Currently I'm going for the 5.5 midfielder. I'm just hoping that he repays the patience. Now Wolves have been signing a couple of new options, a new striker or centre forwards come into account, and maybe he'll actually start on the weekend. But this game will be quite an interesting one. Obviously Fulham kind of parked the bus a little bit against Liverpool. Will they do the same against Wolves? Who kind of knows? I'm just hoping for a lot of goals and hopefully from Pedro Neto. And then our final midfielder to go for is going to be none other than Martinelli, kind of the shining star of our budget midfield department. And with the fixture against Leicester at home, you guys know I'm benching Danny Ward. I'm hoping there's going to be a bunch of goals for that Arsenal attack. Now in terms of the starting 11, Martinelli should definitely be there. Not only does he have the form, but Smith Rowe has also been only kind of returning to training recently. And that's why I think he's a shoo-in to start the game. So I'm not worried about him at 6.0 million. I just hope that he outperforms Saka yet again, because then I'll be absolutely smiling. Then moving on to our forward department, I've mentioned the transfer that we did this week. It's going to be Haaland in for Harry Kane. I've lost no money on that. I've actually gained 0.1 from that Haaland price rise. I just think this Bournemouth at home fixture is too hard to ignore, and I'm expecting the Norwegian to actually go quite large. Haaland just seems like one of those essential options like a Mo Salah. Pep has been talking him up, saying how they're going to adjust their playstyle to suit Haaland. I mean, that's just music to our ears as an FPL owner. And then our final attacker to go for is going to be Gabriel Jesus against the Leicester side. Similar to Martinelli, I'm expecting big things from him. I think the Brazilian forward will get on the mark against them. But at the end of the day, everyone kind of owns him, so the points gained won't be that much. So overall, this is going to be the team for game week 2, but there's an important debate to go over. It's who to captain. Well, I personally will be going for Haaland. Now, I do think Salah and Haaland, it's going to be quite close between them. I'm hoping that it's not one of those 50-50 calls where there's a massive difference between the two. But I've just been on Haaland since about pre-game week 1. I've always said game week 2, I'm going to captain him, and that's why bringing him in was a little bit easier. But if you guys do want to captain Mo Salah, then you can always just keep Kane. I think that Wolves fixture in game week 3 looks quite nice. And I have mentioned this, your transfer plan and your captaincy plan have to go hand in hand. And that's why for my own team, I'm going to captain Haaland. But come Monday night, hopefully after that Crystal Palace fixture, we're not regretting this decision. Let me know in the comments down below, who are you transferring in, who are you captaining, and as I mentioned in the introduction, how did your game week 1 go? But this is basically up the video, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys in the deadline stream 1 hour before the deadline. And just remember, this is going to be on Saturday, not Friday night. But I'm signing off from Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.